A bead of sweat traced its way down my temple as I stood on the doorstep, the heavy box in my arms growing heavier by the second. The sun hung low, casting long shadows that stretched lazily across the neatly trimmed lawn. I shifted my weight from one foot to the other, the anticipation curling in my stomach like a live wire. The door creaked open, and there she was, Anna, my friend's older sister, framed in the doorway. Her oversized shirt slipped casually off one shoulder, revealing a sliver of bare skin, and her eyes held a glint of something I couldn't quite place. "You look taller when you're nervous," she said, a teasing lilt in her voice that sent my heart skittering. The corners of her mouth curled up in a knowing smile, and I forgot how to breathe. "I'm Jake Thompson, 28, software developer by trade, and currently standing here with my pulse racing in my throat. I moved into this neighborhood 3 months ago, seeking the quiet reprieve of suburbia after the relentless chaos of city life." Anna was David's older sister, and from the first time we met, there was an unspoken electricity that crackled in the air between us. Anna, 32, was the kind of woman who carried an aura of effortless grace, like she was perpetually surrounded by a gentle breeze that made everything around her seem softer, more vibrant. She moved with a feline fluidity, and her presence had a way of making even the most mundane moments feel charged with significance. "Come in," she said, stepping back and gesturing for me to enter. I hesitated, the weight of the box suddenly inconsequential compared to the weight of the moment. But I nodded, stepping into the narrow hallway, the familiar scent of lavender and something distinctly Anna enveloping me. The hallway was dim, the only light filtering through the slightly ajar door of the kitchen at the end. As I moved past her, the space between us was almost non-existent. Her palm brushed against my back, a feather-light touch that sent a shiver racing down my spine. In that instant, the world outside ceased to exist. There was only the sound of my heartbeat, loud and insistent in my ears. "Where should I put this?" I asked, my voice sounding far too loud in the intimate silence. "Just on the counter is fine," she replied, her tone casual, but there was an undercurrent of something deeper. I set the box down with a thud, the contents inside shifting slightly. She leaned against the counter, arms crossed, studying me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. "David's out running errands, but he'll be back soon," she said, her eyes never leaving mine. The implication hung heavy in the air between us, a reminder of the line we both knew we shouldn't cross. We settled into a rhythm of conversation, the ebb and flow punctuated by moments of silence that were anything but empty. Our words danced around the edges of things unsaid, the tension between us a living thing, breathing and shifting as we spoke. "Jake, can I ask you something?" Anna's voice was soft, almost hesitant, as if she were tiptoeing around a fragile truth. "Of course," I replied, leaning against the counter opposite her, the cool surface grounding me. "Why do you always look like you're carrying the weight of the world?" Her gaze was piercing, as if she were trying to unravel the tangled threads of my thoughts. I hesitated, the instinct to deflect rising up, but there was something about her that made honesty feel like the only option. "I guess I'm just trying to figure things out. You know? Moving here, starting over. It's been a lot." Her expression softened, the teasing edge replaced by something more sincere. "It's okay to not have all the answers, Jake." A silence settled over us, not uncomfortable, but laden with possibilities. I was acutely aware of the distance between us, the mere feet that felt like miles, and yet not nearly far enough. The sound of a car door slamming outside shattered the moment, reality crashing back with the force of a wave. I straightened, the spell broken, and Anna's eyes flickered to the window, a fleeting shadow of disappointment crossing her face. David was home. We moved to the living room, the transition almost seamless, though the air was still thick with unspoken words. David greeted me with his usual exuberance, oblivious to the undercurrents that had just been swirling in his own kitchen. The evening passed in a blur of laughter and shared stories, but every now and then, I'd catch Anna's eye, a shared secret passing between us in the blink of an eye. It was thrilling and terrifying in equal measure. As I left that night, the stars winking into existence above, Anna walked me to the door. We lingered in the threshold, the porch light casting a warm glow over us. "Thanks for the help today," she said, her voice low, intimate. "Anytime," I replied, and I meant it. Our eyes locked, and for a moment, the world narrowed to just us, standing there on the precipice of something that could change everything. But then she stepped back, the moment passing, leaving behind a bittersweet ache. "Good night, Jake," she said, her voice carrying the promise of something more. "Good night, Anna," I replied, stepping into the cool night air, the door closing softly behind me. The following days were a blur of routine, the mundanity of everyday life a stark contrast to the electric connection I'd felt with Anna. I threw myself into work, trying to drown out the thoughts that kept circling back to her. Her laugh, the way her eyes lit up when she was amused, the fleeting touch of her hand against my back. But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted between us, that we were on the precipice of something profound and potentially catastrophic. A few days later, I found myself back at their house, ostensibly to watch the game with David. But my heart wasn't in it, my mind elsewhere as the hours ticked by. The game droned on in the background, the familiar sounds of commentary and cheering barely registering as I watched Anna move around the kitchen, her movements graceful, practiced. At halftime, David left to grab more snacks from the store, leaving Anna and me alone once more. The silence that descended was heavy with unsaid things, the tension between us a living, breathing entity. "Are you okay?" Anna asked, her voice gentle, concerned. I considered my response, the truth hovering on the tip of my tongue. "I'm not sure," I admitted, meeting her gaze. I can't stop thinking about the other day." Her eyes softened, a small smile playing on her lips. "Me neither." The admission hung between us, a fragile thread connecting us in the dimly lit room. I took a step closer, the distance between us shrinking to nothing. Her eyes held mine, unwavering, and I realized in that moment that I was standing on the edge of a choice that could alter everything. "I don't want to make things complicated," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "They're already complicated," she replied, a hint of amusement in her tone, but her eyes were serious. The truth of her words settled over me, and I knew she was right. There was no going back, no undoing the connection that had formed between us. "Anna, The sound of the front door opening cut me off, David's voice carrying through the house as he called out a cheerful greeting. We stepped apart, the moment shattered, but the echoes of it lingered, a silent promise of what could be. As the evening wore on, the tension between Anna and me remained, a constant undercurrent that neither of us acknowledged but both felt acutely. When it was time to leave, I lingered once more in the doorway, the night air cool against my skin. "Take care, Jake," Anna said, her voice soft, and there was something in her eyes that made my heart ache. "You too, Anna," I replied, the words inadequate for the emotions churning inside me. The door closed, the finality of it echoing in the quiet. As I walked away, the night stretching out before me, I couldn't shake the feeling that the story between us was far from over. In the days that followed, I found myself replaying our interactions over and over, each moment like a puzzle piece that refused to fit neatly into place. The tension between us had shifted, morphed into something that was both exhilarating and terrifying. I knew that pursuing anything with Anna was fraught with risk, the potential fallout with David, the complications that could arise from crossing that invisible line. But there was a part of me that couldn't let go of the possibility, the hope that maybe, just maybe, there was something worth fighting for. A week later, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, I found myself standing on their doorstep once more. My heart thudded in my chest, a drumbeat of anticipation and fear. Anna opened the door, surprise flashing across her face before she schooled her features into a warm smile. "Jake, hi. I wasn't expecting you." "I know," I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. I needed to talk to you." She stepped aside, allowing me to enter, and the familiarity of the space wrapped around me like a comforting embrace. We moved to the living room, the silence between us heavy with expectation. "I've been thinking," I began, searching for the right words, "about us and what this is." Anna nodded, her eyes never leaving mine. And I don't know where this is going or what it means, but I know I don't want to walk away from it." Her smile was slow, blooming across her face like the first rays of dawn. "Neither do I." Relief washed over me, the tension that had been coiled tight in my chest easing. We sat in companionable silence, the weight of our unspoken agreement settling over us like a warm blanket. The future was uncertain, the path ahead fraught with challenges and the potential for heartbreak. But as I sat there beside Anna, the quiet of the evening wrapping around us, I knew that whatever happened, we would face it together. And for now, that was enough.